just because there's
Okay.
a lot going on, so don't say anything. This is a live mic. This is the hot mic.
Hot mic.
We're not bombing Middlebury, right?
Now it's like you, a hot mic.
Oh, jeez. Oh.
Were we on for that? We were on. Yeah.
What's that last year?
I'm glad I didn't say it.
For you.
That's something I would have said. I'm glad I didn't.
Okay, we'll get started here in just a little less than a minute.
But technically, we have nothing to look at on our screen, right?
No.
Oh.
Technically, no.
And that guy who was, my battery went out.
Did it?
Well, it's not up on the thing anyway. They couldn't,
Oh, yeah.
it's not on the, for some reason,
Hi,
it
Maxine.
didn't download to the, whatever it is.
Good evening, Maxine.
Seen you lately, Maxine. Did you retire? Did you retire?
3 times.
Oh. Sorry, I didn't want to.
Okay, it is 7 o'clock, so we will get the meeting started. Today is Thursday, October 3rd, 2024 at 7 p.m. And we will call this regular town council meeting, the town of Bristol, to order. We'll start off with the Pledge of Allegiance. Dustin, would you like to lead us tonight, please?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Move along with roll call. Start to my left, Doug DeSmith.
Here.
Kathy Burke.
Here.
Greg Tuholsky.
Here.
Jeff Beachy is here. Absent this evening will be Dean Renfro. He's not feeling well. Off to my left, Chief Deputy Dustin Lundgren. I was thinking Chief Deputy or Assistant Chief, which is it? Chief Deputy Dustin Lundgren. Legal Counsel Alice Bowman.
Here.
And the back Fire Chief Nick Cantz.
Here.
Town Manager Mike Yoder.
Yes.
Clerk Treasurer Kathy Antonelli.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Everybody had a chance to review the agenda.
Yes.
Okay. Any additions or corrections to that? I know, Mike, there was some, you were working on some things. Any changes to it, or are we still good?
Well, what's in front of you is accurate as far as.
Okay.
No.
Okay. So any changes or corrections?
No.
Okay, if not, it'll stand as published. Next item is to approve the invoices. Jill sent those out. Everybody had a chance to review the invoices for the
Yes.
last month.
Yes.
I make a motion to approve the invoices for last month.
I'll second.
Motion by Greg, second by Kathy. Open for discussion. No further discussion. We'll take a vote. Doug Smith.
Yes.
Kathy Burke.
Yes.
Greg Tuholsky.
Yes.
And Jeff Beachy, the yes. Motion carries. Next item is approval of the minutes from the previous meetings. We have meeting notes from August 15th and November 5th.
September.
September. Yeah. Everybody had a chance to review those?
Yes.
Okay. Is there a motion to approve those?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Okay. Motion by Doug,
I'll second.
second by Greg. Open for discussion. No further discussion. We'll take a vote. Doug Smith,
Yes.
Kathy Burke,
Yes.
Greg Tuholsky,
Yes.
and Jeff Beachy, the yes. Motion carries. Okay, we'll get right under reports. And Mike, you are up.
Okay, so Amber is here to walk us through the updated comprehensive financial plan. These numbers now reflect the 2025 proposed budget, and then to follow up with our 3-year growth levy appeal petition. So there she is.
Is that my cue?
That is your cue.
Okay, well, first I want to say thank you all for letting me attend remotely tonight. I had a conflict at 6 o'clock on the western half of the state. And so I had enough time to make it home to be virtual, but I didn't have enough time to make it all the way to Bristol in person. So I appreciate you guys letting me be remote again. So Mike, is there a preference where you want me to start? Do you want me to discuss the levy appeal first, or do you want me to walk through the 5-year plan?
5-year plan first.
And I will, of course, talk about the levy appeal kind of within it. So I'm trying to share what tells me host disabled screen sharing.
I never would have done that for you. Try that now.
Okay, perfect. It lets me know. All right. So I'm going to share my screen as I walk through this, but you guys also should have, oops, maybe stop. There we go. You guys should also have hard copies of the 5-year plan. So this is the plan that we update every year. Basically, this year it was the same process. We provided an initial draft to Mike, Kathy, and Jill. Me and my coworker Craig, we came over for a day, used that initial draft to kind of discuss the 2025 budget and how that looks. And then Mike, Kathy, and Jill, of course, did their magic on the final 2025 budget. And that is what is included in this final report, which then we bring to you all. So really, again, what this report should do is give you a historical, kind of a current and a few years looking forward for the finances of the town funds and all of the budgets. This does not include utilities as we have in the past, but it does include pretty much all of your major operating funds for the town. So it's the same format as what we've prepared in the past. So I'm going to give you the high points. If there's anything you want to ask me during this presentation, or if you take it home, read it, because I know it's such a fun report to read before you go to bed at night. If you read it, have any follow-up questions, feel free to call me or send me an email. If you don't have my contact info, Mike, Kathy, and Jill certainly do. So I'm going to start on page 4. Just this graph we show here, and we show this graph every year. This graph shows in the dark green the town's circuit breaker credits versus the town's net property tax. So circuit breaker credits are essentially your lost revenue to the tax credits that were adopted back in 2008. If you look at this graph and you kind of see the trends in the dark green, they're pretty steady, which is really awesome. And that's really what we want to see. I mean, some communities, specifically in St. Joe County, lose about 25% of their property tax dollars to circuit breaker credits. And that's really unfortunate. The one major way how you as a town can keep them down is your assessed value growth, which I'll talk about here in a minute too. You guys are doing a ton in the town, and that is great to keep your tax rates low and your circuit breaker low. So we won't know what 2025 circuit breakers are until next spring. But if you can see here for 24, in the yellow is essentially the property tax that you're receiving in as a town. And the past couple of years, we've seen some huge jumps, and that's great due to the levy appeal, which I'll talk about in a bit, but also because your circuit breaker credits are minimal. So essentially all that assessed value, all that growth that you guys are promoting at the town is really helping circuit breaker and your tax rate, which I show a graph on page 6 that kind of shows this line here. And hopefully I'm zoomed in enough. I should have asked that. I'll zoom in a little more. You can see here the town's tax rate from 2015, where this graph starts, it's never been higher than what it was in 2015. And I know for residents, this can cause a lot of confusion because, there's a lot of things that go into that tax bill that residents get, such as their home assessed value or the tax rate, because they don't pay just the tax to Bristol, they pay to the county, to the schools, to the township, so on and so forth. But the tax rate just for Bristol has never been higher than what it was in 2015. You guys have kept it pretty low, again, due to that really growing assessed value. There was a slight tax increase in 2024 for the tax rate. That was simply just due to the geo bonds that were issued for the fire truck. But we would see as that assessed value continues to grow, and we're seeing it grow quite a bit again in 25, that tax rate even out a little bit closer to historical levels. That 8.6 cents per 100 assessed value. So again, assessed value is really helping there on those matters.
Hey, Amber, question for you on the,
Yes.
so from 2023 to 2024, our tax increment went up a little bit from 0.869 to 0.921. That's because of the geo bond for the fire truck. Had that not been implemented, would that tax rate continue to decline, do you think?
Yes,
Okay.
yes, it would have. And that is because so the debt tax rate wasn't a new tax rate to pay for those debt payments for that fire truck.
Yeah.
So if that wouldn't have been issued, then this 24 rate probably would have been even less than 23, just simply because I'm trying to think of the easiest way to explain this. So if your property taxes are growing by 4% each year, if your AV was stagnant, a simple math calculation would mean your tax rate is growing by 4% each year.
Yeah.
But when your assessed value is growing at a much faster rate than that 4%, that property taxes are growing, it pushes down.
Pushes
your
down the tax rate.
They're-
Okay.
Yeah, so they're inverted from each other. So yes, but since you guys issued in 23 and you started collecting for that geo bond in 24, you're not gonna see any other increases. That's gonna probably go down back into the 8.698 area. I have it somewhere, the calculation I can provide to you later, but
Okay, that's fine.
see that go above that 9.2.
Okay, great, thank you.
Page 7 is kind of a high level graph of your major funds. So it says up here in the narrative, this covers like general motor vehicle, highway, local road and street, park, cemetery, and then your lit funds. When I go through the report, I'm going to focus on these graphs because these graphs are really easy to tell the picture rather than, we provide you all the nitty gritty data and numbers, but this is going to be your kind of takeaway. So this chart here, our ending cash balance for these years since from 2019 through estimated 2027, that's in the dark blue. So it's going to be this line right here. Now our target lines, 15%, which is like a 2-month reserve, and then 50%, which is a 6-month reserve. Those are the fund balances, and this represents your fund balances. Those are the fund balances we want the town to be at. So this chart is in total for all of these selected operating funds. So we want the dark blue line to be at or above the green line. So your takeaway here is in the current term and in the near future, if Mike, Kathy, and Joe continue their great magic with adopting or proposing balanced budgets for you as a council to adopt, you're going to be at or above. So that essentially means healthy cash balances, financial stability for the town, as well as opportunities to invest in those projects that maybe are helping drive that growth. So this is really great to see because I think Mike and Kathy and Joe will tell you in a couple previous years, financial plans, there were some concerns, specifically regarding the fire contract, and this report really shows they've done some really hard work over the past couple of years to kind of use every tool in the toolbox and play the fun game of Tetris that they play every day of operating a town, and put together balanced budgets for now and in the future. So I'm gonna really have that same kind of, I'm going to sound like a broken record throughout this report because we're seeing really great things for the town. Pages 9 and 10 are just our assumptions throughout the report. For example, how much property tax is growing by, and these are for our projected years, so through 27. Our assumptions for circuit breaker tax credits, we are pretty conservative here. We're assuming they're going to go up if the town's assessed value is growing like it has been. it's probably not going to, but we do want to be conservative here. Here, this number is small, but if you look on page 10, under bullet number 5, you will see the town's net assessed value trends. So you can see that we did add in the 2025 figure there, which is certified by the county now. You guys have now topped over the 300 million, which is great. And that was a 11% increase from 24. So if you kind of look here at these change percentages, and let me zoom in a little bit so you can really see. I mentioned property tax growth had, only been around 4%, but your assessed value, even since 2020, I think the highest property tax growth rate we've seen was in 23 at 5.1. All of your assessed value growth since 2020 has exceeded that. And so that is why the town has been eligible for those levy appeals, because your growth is exceeding the state averages growth. And, there's this theory that, if you're growing that fast and that quick, you need additional revenue to then provide services and, provide services to that growth. So that is truly why you guys have been able to, file those appeals. And later we will talk about the appeal that we are going to ask the DLGF for this year, which is a total of 246,000, which I believe is one of the highest amounts. Last year I think it was only around 140,000. Is that right, Mike? Does that sound right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think it was 3,000 the first year I was here. I thought it was barely going in.
Yeah. It was pretty low that first year.
It depends on the year because there's a very specific calculation, but if the LGF approves it for this year, it'll be a really good amount added to the town property tax next year.
Good.
Okay, so anyways, continuing through this report, pages 10 and 11, 11 and 12. This is simply Mike's capital improvement plan that we include in this report, just so that way we can overlay it in all of our cash flows. So this is all of the TIF items, the CC&G matches, everything, Mike can dream of and he gives us. I'm just kidding, Mike. We do include it here in our report. That way, we kind of show a true financial impact.
You like that, didn't you?
Yeah, let's get this straight. This is everything the Council dreams of. I just have to figure out what we're paid for. That's
I'm gonna take note of that. That's better. Thank you.
So
I like that
so
one.
what's a gold bond? So what's a gold bond?
That's the general
That
obligation.
is,
Okay,
yeah.
just wondered.
We-
It's kind of hard.
Yeah, we love acronyms in this report. So if there's ever an acronym that you just have no idea, feel free to ask me. But yes, that is the general obligation bond
Okay.
that the town issued last year.
Obligation.
For mainly the fire truck, and then I believe it was like street lights, and maybe something else that's in this list as well.
Okay.
Okay, page 13. We added this page here just for kind of planning sakes on the proposed fire contract funding, just that way we can clearly identify where is that coming from each year, because I know in the past it has really put a strain on the general fund. So, if we kind of have a plan going forward, which now you will see majority of it is paid out of the TIF funds, because I believe it was either last year or the year before, legislation passed and now TIF can pay for public safety expenses. So if you get into the bulk of the report, and you'll see these slide sheets here, for sections, operating funds, which are gonna be like your big ones like general, motor vehicle highway, for example. If you remember, we do again show you all of the detail here. The top half of this is kind of like our cash flow page, and you'll see at the very top where it says what fund it's for. So this is for the general. We show back to 2022 and 2023, and then an estimated 24 and forward to 27. We have our total operating receipts on line 16, and that sums up the top half of the page. And then on line 25, total operating disbursements. So basically, receipts minus disbursements are going to total your line 27, which is highlighted, and that's your increase, decrease in fund balance. Now, if you see a 0 in that line, that is a spot on to the dollar balance budget. If you see a negative, that means it's eating into your cash reserves. If you see a positive, that means it is building into your cash reserves. So just looking at general, looking at the blue line there in line 27, 24 and forward, we have positives. That means general is even better than a balanced budget, and that means general will build its cash reserves and kind of, store it away for maybe another year, such as 22, where you need to eat into those cash reserves for one thing or another. If you look at line 33, that kind of goes back into those reserve targets that I was talking about. We want these percentages to be pretty close to 50. So that is a 6-month reserve. That means if all revenue stopped tomorrow, the general fund would have 6 months worth of money in the bank to continue operations. And you can see in 24 and forward, we're at about 50-60%. So that is right on the money. General is looking really great now and into the future. Page 15, then we show a graph just comparing total operating receipts, total operating disbursements. Of course, if those two bars are equal to each other, that is a balanced budget. So ideally, and in this case, for 24 and forward, we see operating receipts exceeding operating disbursements. And again, that's going to help build your cash balances. And then the last graph we show for each fund is that ending balances to the reserve targets. So in this graph, the yellow line is your ending fund balance. The dark green is your 2-month reserve or 15%, and the blue is your 50% or 6-month reserve. So again, we want to be at or above that blue line. And for the general fund, kind of like how I was mentioning, there was a couple of years worth of financial plans where we were really kind of eyeing the general fund. Well, this is why. Because in 2022, general was, and I have the percentage up here, at about 35%. So not at the kind of bare 15%, but not at that 50% target where we would really want it. And again, Mike and everyone at the town worked really hard to increase that. And at 24, we would expect that fund balance to be right at 50%. And then in future years, unless any major changes or, some unexpected budgeted item, to then climb over that 50% cash reserve. So general is looking really great now and into the future. So basically the rest of this report goes through those 3 pages for all of your funds. So just for time's sake, I'm gonna focus on the line graph for each fund and kind of give you the story there. So again, this is for motor vehicle highway. Ending fund balances have always been above our teal 50% cash reserve. And I know there's lots of paving projects, coming up on the town, so this very well could change. But as is, with all of the capital improvements in the budget, we see fund balances really exceeding 50%. So this figure here, in 2027, where it is way over that 50% reserve, that tells Mike and everyone at the town that there's probably some really good cash reserves there available for those paving projects you all want to do. Local road and street, same thing. Our yellow line is well above its targets. This is a great looking fund, and it can also be used for paving. You guys don't get a ton in this fund each year though, about $46,000. So I know this is a pretty modest budget to kind of save these cash balances for those kinds of projects. And that's spot on exactly what it'll be used for in the future. FVH restricted, we don't show a line graph for this one because it can only be used for paving, so there really is no need to hold a balance here in this fund. As soon as you guys want to do those paving projects, our recommendation is always this fund first, zero out this fund with everything you have for your paving projects, and then go elsewhere since it is so restricted. But at the end of 23, you guys have about 100,000 in this fund, and I know the 25 and 24 budget have it earmarked for some paving, and that continues into the future. Park is another fund that is looking really well. Again, ending fund balances we saw them decline slightly from 22 to 20, or not slightly, it was pretty big decline from 22 to 23. But never below the 50% reserve target balance, and 25, 26, 27 kind of recovering there. So if we go back to the detail, then Park in 23 had some pretty significant capital outlays of about $54,000. But I believe Mike, correct me if I'm wrong, that was one of the years where, or the start of when all salaries transitioned from Park to general. Is that correct?
I believe that's correct. Yes, I believe so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that is why you kind of see that change here is there's a kind of a shift of salaries away from other funds and to the general fund.
We also shifted some tax rate to the general fund as well. I think that was.
Yes, we did. You're very right. That did happen. So that's a good point. So every year, the town gets a total amount of property tax, and essentially the town has the ability every year then to decide how much is going to each fund. And that's kind of why we put together these reports, because, for example, if we saw a really bad cash shortfall in Park in, let's say, 2026, we could plan to move property tax from another fund that was maybe positive cash flow to Park. That could be for many reasons. Maybe Park has a big project they want to do, or something, and the town decides on that. But the town does have the ability to do it. Most of the time, it's pretty constant, it's pretty steady. There's really no reason to move property tax. But in this case, when we said, okay, salaries are going to be more flowing through the general fund, then it only made sense to move property tax out of, Park, and I believe we moved it out of cemetery as well, and give it to general. That way general can afford those. And that brings me to cemetery too. That way general can afford those, all of the salaries. So you can see here, back in 22, cemetery was getting about 53,000, the cemetery fund, in property tax. And in these discussions, working through this with Mike, Kathy, and Joe, we determined cemetery can probably support its own budget just based off of the cemetery fees that it charges. And so we moved that property tax to general, and cemetery has done pretty well in the past. There was a shortfall in 23, just a dip in the cash reserve, mostly due to capital outlays. But if you look at cemetery's operating balance percentage, it's in the 1,000, so way over the 50%. Cemetery has a really healthy cash balance and has the ability to have even, a couple of continuous years eat into those cash reserves. And you'll see it on the chart before it gets to our 50% target where we would like to see it. So nothing wrong with cemetery having a good cash balance, but it definitely didn't need property tax anymore at that point to help support it. Public safety lit, again, had a slight decrease below the 50% cash reserve, but just barely in 2023. Nothing we would be concerned about, especially since in our forecast 24 and forward, we are seeing positive trends there. Also, I will note in this report, our 25 numbers are using the DLGS estimates that they released in August. If you kind of look at the trend here for local income tax between 22, 23, 24, which are all certified numbers, they're pretty big jumps. 171 in 22 to 210 to 247. Well, in 25, DLGF is only estimating not even a $10,000 jump. And we also don't assume any supplemental local income tax comes in as well. They will release certified 25 numbers in hopefully next month. And we would hope to see 25 jump in the same kind of leaps that the previous years did. But for this report, we are being conservative. So if it is higher, then we would only see this be a more positive picture as well. The edit fund, same thing. We are still using DLGF estimates, although they are assuming quite a big jump in 25, 251 to 280. So we'll kind of see how that pans out in their final numbers in November. But again, this is a really great fund that the town does use for a few, mostly capital. This one doesn't have any debt payments. Capital, CCMG match, and reserve balances or cash balances are well above the 50%. They were pretty close at 23, a little bit of an increase in 24, and they get a little closer at 25. And this trend or these targets move because it is based on that year's budget. But we don't foresee edit falling below that 50% in the near term. So all good news there. The rest of these funds are your smaller funds, which we don't show graphs for. For example, stormwater, rainy day, we just show it just to kind of show the cash balance that is in there, but there has been no activity in rainy day. Rayburn Golf Course, and then as well as your debt service funds, we show the cash flows there. We don't show graphs for these funds simply because they don't always need to keep a balance, and they are their special revenue funds, not necessarily your property tax back funds or local income tax funds. So starting on page 39, then these are kind of your capital funds. So cigarette tax, CCI, there is no budget for that fund in 25 simply because it doesn't bring in a ton of money each year, only about $3,000. So then the next page, page 40, the cumulative fire. This is a property tax fund. In 23, 24, 25, and 26, we are showing some negative cash flows in line 16, the blue highlighted line. This is obviously fire contract driven because, for example, in 24 and 25, 100,000 of that is for the fire contract. So honestly, it only makes sense that cumulative fire does pay for that fire contract, and we would see that continue. But if you look at, and I don't have graphs for these either, but if you look at line 22, we do see it trending down below that 50%. So what this trigger would mean for us, if we saw that in 26, it truly was going a little bit too close to that 15%, is we would do this process with Mike, Kathy, and Jill again and say, okay, we need to kind of replay the game of Tetris to see where else for a few years could afford that fire contract rather than cumulative fire to let it build up its cash balances for a few years. CCD is another fund you guys use for mostly capital outlays. The great thing about this fund is it can be used for anything and it does grow with your assessed value. So another is outside of that 4% property tax growth levy. It just, if your assessed value increases, this fund's property tax increases. Same way if it decreased for any reason, this would decrease because it is 5 cents per 100 of assessed value. So again, another reason why to keep driving that town growth, because that's really going to help your revenues in the CCD fund. We do show the GEO bond project fund on page 42. This is more for just informational purposes to make sure that those bond proceeds are spent down. I'm sure Mike will have no problem with spending those down. But we do show it there just for informational purposes. Not trying to excite you, Mike. I'm just keeping it light here. I'm trying to have numbers, so I need to make a joke every once in a while. The next section are your TIF funds. Again, we don't show graphs for these. A lot of the numbers on the capital plan flow through here. If you kind of look at the detail, you'll see, especially for South Street, we've got debt service going through the TIF fund, fire contract, capital outlays. Bristol team does a great job at kind of managing these funds and their cash flow. Overall, we don't really see any issues, and our hope would be that Bristol is plentiful with TIF dollars. which is a great way to support your operations and support that growth in the community. And our team, Heidi and Kyle, as you know, every year update these TIF revenues. So the revenues we show are of their most recent TIF report, and we would only hope that these TIF funds are plentiful well into the future as well. But we have no concerns, and we're showing positive cash flows in pretty much all of them. And we do include the new rail park TIF and Belmont TIF that are newer TIF districts. So that's pretty much it. That is all for our 5-year plan. Again, if you have any questions, please let me know. It got really dark really fast, and I'm not close to my lamp, so that's why I got dark. I promise I'm not.
I have a question.
Yes.
Back on page 25, I mean, I'm sorry to go back, but you got the graph for the park. But on the 50% cash reserve line for 2025, there's no dollar amount.
Let me get there.
On the graph,
On page 25.
yes, on the graph.
Oh, I see that. It's missing a label.
Do you have, I mean, like 48, maybe, since it's close in
Go
there?
back to the chart. Have the number.
So essentially what that number is, let me reshare real quick.
I'm not sure where to pull the number up from.
Yeah, I'm sorry about that. That
No,
clearly is a kind of a one-off in our graph there. So what it is a 50% reserve would essentially be 50% of your budget. So if
Oh.
you take that 90,485 that I've highlighted, which is your 2025 proposed budget, divide that by 2 is about 45,000.
Okay, I thought it was probably about 48 or something.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm sorry about that. So yeah, it's
No,
about
that's fine.
45,000, and then likewise, the 15% reserve would be if you took that parks proposed 2025 budget and multiply it by 15%, that's what that 14 would be.
Okay.
And it might be a little bit of rounding in our numbers here. But yeah. so
I just didn't know how to calculate it, so I think.
I
Okay,
know, we have so many numbers in here, it's
Yeah.
sometimes it's hard to catch when one is
that's all
somehow
right.
missing. Any other questions?
So, someone who's looking at this report may have a question about where does the information show up for the water and sewer projects? But these are tax-based numbers, not
Correct.
fund numbers from the water and sewer rates, correct?
Exactly,
Okay.
and why we typically exclude them from this report is because in the eyes of, state board of account, water and sewer, while they are a part of the town, they are their own enterprise funds, meaning they operate off of kind of like a business, off of
Yeah.
user fees, which you guys charge, increase as needed, so on and so forth. However, we have included something similar, water and sewer, in the same report as this. If that is helpful to you at all, we certainly could put that together and provide an insert for water and sewer. It'll be set up a little bit differently just because, for example, for water and sewer, their targets are a little bit different. We typically don't just kind of say, 50% cash reserve. And why we do say 50% cash reserve for 6 months is because in your property tax funds, you get your largest revenue, property tax, every 6 months. So that is why we have that target there. So they would have different targets, maybe a couple different graphs depending. But we certainly could provide an insert if that is in future years, if that is beneficial to you as a council.
I don't know that it is. I just wanted to point it out in case anybody in the
Okay.
room or online had questions on why it didn't show up.
Yes,
Yeah.
it's not in here because this is you know, your
Tax-
civil town.
Tax-driven revenue as opposed to service-driven revenue. Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. Anything else?
I don't think so, Council. Mike, Kathy? Okay, well, thank you, Amber. And you already talked about the 3-year,
The levy, no, she hasn't done that.
briefly, the 248,000. So yeah,
Yes, so Mike, do you want to go into that next? And you guys have the petition.
We may, but if you have it,
Right.
do you have in front of you, you can share? That would be easier for me, but I can try and find it.
Let me turn it.
We had a bit of a program crash today, so,
Oh,
yeah, it's, I am.
no, let's see here. I have it. Let me just scroll to the right page. Okay. So, like I said, the town is eligible again to apply for the 3-year growth excess levy appeal. So again, what this is saying is it looks at the town's assessed value growth for the past 3 years. And I'll kind of show you, this is our calculation here that we always do because we, of course, check you guys for this appeal every year. So this year's appeal will look at 22, 23, 24 assessed value of the town. So, and then it's gonna take the average of that change, which is about 15%, 15.2% on average. And then it's gonna compare that to statewide, what the assessed value has changed the past 4 years or 3 years. That average is 8.72%. So Bristol is pretty much close to double what the state has grown in assessed value on average the past 3 years. You have to meet the increase. So you have to beat that 8.72% by like 2% to be eligible. Obviously, you guys are almost at 6% over that 8% average, so that makes you eligible. Then there's this calculation of how much extra dollars does it provide the town? It takes your 2024 maximum levy, the difference in what property tax is growing by, so 4%. Then the calculation, so you're growing 15%, you're already getting 4% growth like everyone else, so really it's giving you 11% more of what you would get in 25. That amounts to 246,000. So you guys have done this in the past. The first step is to, and I have here shown on my screen, is to approve a petition to appeal the DLGF for an increase above the maximum levy. So I have it on my screen, and Mike and Kathy should have it as well for you to sign if you do move forward. This is basically saying you're for or against appealing the DLGF for that amount of money. The next step would be Mike, Kathy, and Jill wrap up the application to the DLGF, which includes this and a bunch of other information, basically really making your case for that extra money. We'll submit it before later this month. I believe the due date is like the 20th. DLGF will usually take a month or two to review and then come back and say yes or no. If they say yes, this 246,000 is cumulative, so it adds to your maximum levy, and then every year it sticks with you. So it doesn't go away, it's not 1 year, so that's why it's super important to apply for this when you can. Because for example, if you decided this year not to move forward with it, you could be ineligible next year based off the calculation I just showed you, and you don't get to go back and say, well, we were eligible for the 246 last year, can we do it again? No, it's if you don't do it now, you don't do it. So this is for your consideration tonight, and then we will help Mike, Kathy, and Joe submit that application and hopefully another approval. I want to say the town has been approved the past 3 or 4 years for these appeals, so there's a good chance it'll get approved again.
okay. So with that said, is there a motion to request the 3-year growth levy appeal petition with the DLGF?
I'll make the motion.
Okay,
I'll second.
motion by Greg, second by Doug, open for discussion. Okay, no further discussion, take a vote. Doug Smith,
Yes.
Kathy Burke,
Yes,
Greg Tulski,
Yes.
and Jeff Beach is yes. Motion carries.
if you don't ask for it, you don't get it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We've earned it, so we need to ask for it.
Yep.
Thank you, Amber.
Yes, absolutely. I will hop off then. If there are any other questions, please let me know. And thanks again for letting me join virtually. And I will see you all very soon.
Absolutely. Thank you, Amber. Appreciate the
Thank you.
update tonight.
Yep, bye-bye.
Okay. Next item on the agenda.
If I may, that C is going to take a little bit of discussion, but we have Jeremy here, and rather than having to spend another hour, maybe we can jump to D and we'll come back to C.
Sure.
So we may do D, E, F, and G. I think we're talking about all of it. I think. If not, there's a change order and pay orders and all that.
Okay.
So. We have this. So that was taken today. That's where the reed beds were at, where the SBR units will be constructed, I believe.
Like Grand Canyon.
Nice.
Getting work done.
Couple months will look a lot different.
Nice.
It looks a lot different.
Looks a lot different now.
Yeah.
After a week, you'll see a lot of changes.
Okay.
Yeah, along with that picture, again, my name is Jeremy Hardy with Commonwealth Engineers from the South Bend office. A lot of work's being managed out of South Bend with Amy Mendoza running that project. So, quick update. Obviously, that was the picture of the SBR excavation main process for you. Additionally, we noted the demolition that occurred beforehand in that area with the reed beds, and then also on your effluent structure, post aeration, your UV, your metering, that structure itself is coming together nicely there. Did the excavation, did some concrete work already, so that's going to kind of finish up here pretty soon. Very small structure. The items that were approval tonight, I'll start off with payments, is the Baker Tilly SRF disbursement request number 10 for $21,000. And then the Commonwealth Engineers SRF disbursement request number 11 for $12,246. And then for the contractor, item 3, Crosby Construction payout number 2, SRF disbursement 12.
Why don't we go through those one at a time? So
Yeah.
Okay, I didn't know if you want to do them all at once or
No.
just the payments itself, so we can do one by one. It's fine.
This is the.
Which one's this?
Going to the,
21,000 for Baker Tilly.
Yeah, it's been kind of big.
That comes out of
Yeah.
services?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, again, these are all covered within the SRF loan.
Okay.
We make a motion, we pay SRF application number 10 for $21,000.
Okay. Motion by Kathy,
I'll second.
second by Doug. Open for discussion. No further discussion. We'll take a vote. Doug Smith,
Yes.
Kathy Burke,
Yes.
Greg Tulski,
Yes.
and Jeff Beach is yes. Motion carries.
Then the next one up there would be Commonwealth Engineers. Request number 11 for $12,246.
I'll make a motion that we pay SRF application number 11 in the amount of $12,245.92 to Commonwealth Engineering.
This, the form says 12,246, so.
That's because SRF uses full numbers, so.
Okay.
So what?
12,246.
The whole number?
Okay. I'll amend my motion to $12,246. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Greg. Motion by Jeff. Open for discussion.
I had to put my 8 cents worth in.
I know, right?
Yeah.
No further discussion. We'll take a vote. Doug Smith,
Yes.
Kathy Burke,
Yes.
Greg Tulski,
Yes.
and Jeff Beach is a yes. Motion carries.
Then the last one, the 2-part, all within the same pay request. That is for Crosby Construction, payout number 2.
We did that last week.
Oh, you already did this one?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect.
So this is the change order.
Okay. The change order, this is one that I gladly present. This is just the credit. So I might go a little slower just to let it resonate a little bit. So this is a credit of $277,000, $277,020. And also includes a contract time adjustment of 90 days. So within this change order, the original contract times, the contractor included, hey, we're not gonna meet the schedule going into the phase two, so we're already gonna incur damages, so we gotta do that in our budget. So fortunately, they offered it back saying, hey, if you just give us time, we'll just give you back the cash and just give us some flexibility. So between phase one of actually getting the new process up and running and then going into phase two, when you're working on the admin building, just flexibility of if they need some time, more time on phase one or more time on phase two, just gives them that flexibility, but then you get that, we're building it as a work allowance right now. So if things come up, we can bill against those, that work allowance, just some unforeseens of, you know, as you're doing excavation or whatnot, we can apply that and then won't be a net change to the contract until the very end, and then we can balance that out. So
Okay.
we'll have that built in there, and that's not even included in the 277,000. So really, we're talking about $420,000 credit. So
Nice.
so that's what's included there, and some of the items within the change order was a bid price correction, which was a credit. And then because of the timing with the Davis-Bacon wage scales, we had to follow a different one than what was in place at bid time. And so that increased a couple labor rates. So that's an add within the change order itself. And then we also included some patchwork that the contractor suggested that we can likely see some savings if we go time and materials versus just the lump sum amount for doing the patchwork. So our inspector will monitor the work and the measurements based on their unit price. So
Okay.
as we pull back now, it'll be a minor adjustment in the future. That's the goal.
Okay.
And then of course the flexible time, which is here is 90 days as a whole that can be moved for phase one or phase two. And then withholding a work allowance, that is the owner allowance, not the contractor allowance.
Okay.
I make a motion, we accept the change order number one for a credit of $277,020.
Okay.
I will second.
Motion by Kathy, second by Doug. Open for discussion. No further discussion. We'll take a vote. Doug Smith,
Yes.
Kathy Burke,
Yes.
Greg Dolsky,
Yes.
and Jeff Beach is yes. Motion carries.
Thank you. Okay, thank you.
All right.
Nice to
Thank
get
you,
it.
Jeremy. Appreciate it.
Yep, guys have a good evening.
You too.
Just Jeff.
Okay, now let's go back to the street lights. So we had talked about, or we've gone down this path of, this is new street lights, and these will be installed after NDOT completes their project next year, so. In the next couple of months, we need to get these ordered, so we have them for next summer. So we've been moving down the path of Antella streets, this is. I haven't found a company that can do this, all of these things in one package. So what I'm bringing to you tonight is, this is the package we've looked at, and also just to compare to what a regular ordinary street like what we have is. So we're looking at 36 lights between the two stoplights. That's more lights than we have now. Current lights do not meet current lighting standards for streets, so we have to increase the number of lights. This is what it'll look like. There'll be 6 lights. They'll have these LED banners scattered at particular intervals, I guess. What was not included in the quote, and the quote is for 700. It's like I think I told you in some of the agenda here, $20,371 per light. That's about double of what we buy from the same vendor that built these lights. So it's about double. But with this, we get some additional items. Also included in the prices, there startup costs, there's annual fee because we have Wi-Fi, we have remote controlled LED lights at the top, we have controls for the panels. There's a lot of electronics that go into this. There'll be Wi-Fi throughout the town, these lights as well. There'll be options to add other equipment in the future if we choose to use. This does have the regular light, and then there's an LED light on top that we can change colors for the season. and choose.
Is this the one, are these the ones that have the camera,
We
capability?
could- Yes, yes, we're
Yeah.
not getting that because I thought this was kind of expensive. But,
Yeah,
No music either, Mike?
what's that?
no music.
Uh, can. Here, let me, let's search.
Banners.
Why am I not finding my, oh, right here, it's
Right here.
This-
Public
Okay.
access, stealth antennas.
Yeah, well, that's for the Wi-Fi access.
Oh.
What's
Huh?
that?
I don't think. Okay.
No,
Well, it's
I don't
not.
see any.
No, what's also not on there is poles to hang flowers, which I think is kind of important. So I've asked for that information. They haven't responded yet.
What's the circumference of those poles? They look pretty skinny in the picture.
They're about like what we have, you know, like very similar, only they'll be a little taller.
It says. Yeah, 6 inches.
16 feet, 6 inches by 1/4 inch wall.
Same lights we saw in
Cassopolis.
Catsopolis.
Cassopolis, yeah.
Mhm. So if you're ready to move ahead with these, I just need an okay to continue working a little bit on this contract, make sure we have everything included that we like. It would be a $700-some thousand investment. We'll probably get another 30 to 40,000 in installation costs with this as well. So that'll be the investment. The installation will be similar between whether it's regular poles or these poles. The only addition will be the fiber optic, but I think we're going to get a good, I think we'll be working with CERT on that, so that.
Okay.
That allows them to provide, CERT will be able to provide businesses, gigabyte service, internet along Main Street.
Right.
Which, you know,
So this annual maintenance fee of $7,620 is there, does it start after 1 year? Is it start at day of setting? Does it,
once the system goes live, is my understanding.
okay, so that's a total, that's not per light, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
Thank you, thank you very much.
That's total. And I may be able to shave a little bit off of that yet too. Nobody in the county's got anything like this. I mean, I don't know of any, so this is really set off the new downtown. It'd be really nice. But it's a little expensive too. So the
Yeah.
source of funds would be what's left over, the GO bond plus some TIF. So we have the money set aside. I've set aside $1 million to do this project. So
And this is from the TIF, mostly TIF funds?
mostly,
Okay. Which is what TIF is designed for.
right? Yeah, but about 60 to 70, 65% TIF and balance from GO.
Okay.
So from what area to what area again?
Between the street stoplight.
Between the stoplights?
Stoplights, yeah, sorry.
Stoplight,
Between the
stoplight.
stoplights. We'll
Okay.
replace, we'll do an evaluation of all those other streetlights that'll come out. We'll replace the old streetlights, the better ones back. We'll keep the old streetlights beyond that until we install it up.
Oh, okay.
So we'll probably install more streetlights, whatever's part of the project, we'll put in the base and all the conduit and all the Wi-Fi for beyond stoplights, so that when we can upgrade in the future, it's already to go.
So we're gonna reuse the ones we've got here,
We'll
wow,
use
if
many-
they're appropriate to be able to be
Yeah,
used.
some of them will not.
Yeah. Well, they've been up for how many years?
Yeah, quite a few years, you say?
How many years?
How many years have they
How
been?
many years, Mike?
You've been here.
How many years, Kathy?
I'm just asking if anybody else might know.
Do you?
I think 25,
Really?
I think.
Some of them look like it.
Well, there've been some replaced over years too, but I'm pretty sure it was pretty close to 25, don't you think, Nick?
Before I was born.
I'm sorry?
25, if not more.
If not more. That's, well, I know at least 25.
Yeah, that would be the 10,000, 8 to 10,000. And that's the thing. but
Because they were put out there when I got on the board in 99.
These are very close to the design we have. Probably most people wouldn't notice the difference, other than these lights will be smaller.
They're gonna be brighter.
They'll be, yes, currently, the current lights don't be lighting standard, these lights will.
Does it say what the lumen rating is?
It does. Cause I saw that somewhere. I'm not sure it shows it on here, but I had to get into the,
Okay, into the actual specifications.
Mhm.
Okay. All right. As long as it meets the standards, that's the important part. So, thoughts?
A lot of money.
Well, these lasted 25 years and those last another 25.
These have lasted more than 25 years. I mean, at least, right, Denny?
Yeah, no.
Except
Saw
when,
what it did up in Coucil.
yeah,
It's a huge difference.
yeah, that's a pretty big statement up there.
Well, technically, if you spread the $733,000 across 25 years,
Right?
They have a 7-year warranty.
they have a 7-year warranty.
Yeah,
Yeah.
gonna include the maintenance fee too.
Oh, I need my calculator. It's not gonna work. Love it.
Okay. Is there a motion to proceed with the new lights?
I'll make a motion to proceed with the new lights.
Okay, motion by Doug. Is there a second? I will second that motion. Open it for discussion.
Perhaps just a point of order on the motion, the request is to continue the discussion on lights to reach a final
Price.
price.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah, so I didn't, that's exactly the way I'm interpreting it.
Okay,
Continue to zero in on this tab.
Gotcha.
On this-
okay. So it's not a motion to proceed with the
We're
down
not
payment.
signing yet.
Okay,
We have everything there. I want to make sure that's, you want to be in this budget area, and then I'll come back, but by the next meeting, we should have it.
okay. Thank you for clarification.
So,
Okay.
I guess the question is, could we do a dumbed down light to space out lights even further? To have the features, like, is there a certain range? Because that's a lot of lights in one small area.
It is.
If every other one was a dumbed down light with the same lumen,
Oh, I see.
would we be able to cut like part of the price down?
Oh, good question. I'll ask that.
Because I mean, if it's Wi-Fi, like
Same
Wi-Fi
about lights, but some dumb ones and some.
right? So if we were able to cut the number in half, because it shouldn't need every single light to have Wi-Fi.
That's
Every
right.
single light,
Yeah.
if we're only doing 6 banners,
Yeah.
do we combine that to be 6 bannered lights and then double lights?
Good point.
If it's the same looking aesthetic, I mean, if we can cut the project in half.
I mean, if we
At
could
least
find
some
out,
option.
even if we have one Wi-Fi on the end, one in the middle and one on the other end, that may be all we need.
Seems like we wouldn't need that many Wi-Fi spots.
Hmm.
Yeah, that'd be 36 Wi-Fi spots in the matter of 5 blocks.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, Good- good point, Greg.
Yeah, nice point.
It's more investigation.
Mm.
Good idea.
okay. Any further discussion? Okay, if not, we'll take a vote. Doug Smith,
Yes.
Kathy Burke,
Oh, I didn't ask a question. Sorry. I thought the motion was to go ahead with the purchase, but it's not.
no, it's to
Okay.
investigate further pricing.
Yes,
Greg Dolsky,
Yes.
and Jeff Beach is yes. Motion carries. So go ahead and do some more investigation on it, Mike.
Next, this is also, I'm looking for some guidance from you folks. You recall, we have the ability to create an overlay on the zoning for the town that incorporates our own personal development standard. For zone, instead of just using the counties, we can create our own. So I'm working on, I have two quotes on this. One is from another engineering firm that would cost $5,000. I went to JPR and asked for a quote from them, and the first one came back at 40, which included a lot more than just the development center. It was a very in-depth, much more than we needed. So I trimmed that down and held down to 20. So here's the question. Ken Jones is suggesting that maybe we want to review and create recommendations for the establishment of the town's urban services area, an area of influence and a 20-year annexation plan. So essentially, you take a look at our water sewer infrastructure. How far out can we go with that? And do we want to put together a 20-year annexation plan? Currently, state law says that we have 2 miles, this our urban influence growth area around 2 miles, which is large. Initially, I thought this was a great idea. Then now I'm not sure there's value to that. When somebody comes to us and we have significant capacity to grow with our wastewater plant and water after this infrastructure. Right now, with the current size of the town, we're only about 55%, maybe approaching 60% capacity at wastewater plant. Because of the improved efficiency, the new plant will actually have better throughput, so we can handle be more like 50%. My understanding. So we can grow a lot. We can reach sort of the lake up north of town here. What lake is that? That's
Indiana.
And like,
I don't know if the town was officially approached in the past, but I know there was talk at one time of the town servicing Indiana Lake. The residents there chose not to do that. We can reach there and service it. We can reach up into the Bristol Hills and service residential up there. Choose to do that. So if you think it's worth doing that study, then I'll probably go with JPR. But if you're a little hesitant that maybe that information is not that critical to us now, I'll go back to Ken and say, let's refigure this. What we will look at, what Ken is looking at, which is more detailed than the other, is everything from noise, migration, storage, parking areas, surface areas, lighting. He's including a lot more detail in our development standards than what the other proposal is.
Jeez.
and he's at how much?
He's at 40 now.
And does that include
That includes everything that's right on here and
on this point number 2,
yeah.
the review and recommendations?
I mean, considering some of the recent things, those might not be bad.
Yeah,
I'm wondering, we used to have an ordinance that was done. Now I'm gonna show my age, 99. I think it was in 99, 2000, somewhere in there. That we had a commercial ordinance. And then 2 years later, the board got rid of it. And I think I've still got a copy of it. I don't throw anything away.
Ordinance for
building standards.
Building standards. And I mean, like I said, I still got a copy of it. We've got to have one in the file.
there's some question as to whether I'm not going to wander into legal territory, but I'm not sure the town, because we follow the county zoning ordinance. I'm not sure how far you guys can get into development standards.
Well, it was basically commercial.
So I see.
And it was talking about, gosh, that's a long time ago. It talked about landscaping, maintenance, trash, hidden trash things, all of that stuff. And why I was not at that meeting that was dismissed and they just got rid of it. But it took us a long time to put that together. They were afraid it would, the board got rid of it because they were afraid that people would not want to come into town if they had to live up to those standards. Yeah, that was their reasoning. But it was basically, so we didn't have a junk business sitting right here by the road. But I've got a copy of that if you guys want to see it.
Sure.
I've got a copy of everything over 25 years.
The overlay of the county is that we catch that stuff right in the permit.
Right,
Yeah.
right. And we followed a lot of the county in developing this ordinance, and it took a year or two.
There's also an option, perhaps, for us to have more oversight over the final say of site
Right.
improvements.
Yeah. And that we need.
Yeah.
And I would like you to see that ordinance so that you know what's in it and what could be used, what maybe the whole thing can be used. I don't know, but I can get you that tomorrow.
So basically, it's gonna be, Ken is gonna take what the county already has in place for standards and make them more stringent.
He's going to.
Or defined.
There, what's in our ordinance now regarding some of these issues that overlap, especially signs.
Yeah.
So if we put our signing ordinance information in the counties, then one stop, that's what we've gotten in trouble here in the past, is they've gotten a different set than we do. We
Right.
don't catch it until it's up in the air.
Yeah.
So this streamlines all of that. So yes, he'll go through all the county stuff, compare it, well, I've asked him to focus only on the downtown and business development standards and the commercial development standards, because I think our residential standards, what the county has, is just fine for us in Bristol. That's been working well. It's on the business and commercial side
Yeah.
where we've had challenge.
Yeah.
And so I narrowly scoped down to that.
Okay.
So overall, I think he's doing a more in-depth, he's presented a more in-depth and detailed review than the other proposal. It's the question on the urban services area and 20-year annexation plan, if we want to invest in that stuff.
Well, I think Greg hit a point on that what we're seeing right now with the current growth we've seen, and we can expect more than likely. It's probably not a bad idea to include that. Because it's not been done in the past. We've not looked at what the future of annexation looks like.
I'll circle back with Ken to make sure that he's bottom dollar and talk about that for the next meeting.
Okay.
Yeah, let's hold off. Finally, for me, we have a first pay application on the wastewater, or not wastewater, this is kind of water improvements. This is project contract A, this is the water tower and the main infrastructure. So, okay, Kathy pointed out something to me before the meeting. The agenda indicates pay applications for $111,625. Actually, the total amount from SRL will be $117,500. Niblock will receive $111,000, but the other $5,000 change is kept as being. So I'd like you to approve $117,500.
Okay.
Oh,
So that's for pay application number one,
Number one.
contract A for Niblock. Okay, is there a motion?
Make a motion to approve application number one for the sum of $117,500.
I'll second.
Okay, motion by Doug, second by Kathy. Open for discussion. No further discussion, take a vote. Doug Smith,
Yes.
Kathy Burke,
Yes.
Greg DeHolsky,
Yes.
and Jeff Beach is yes. Motion
Okay,
carries.
very good. And we'll come down to another notification tomorrow, but that project starts Monday. Down here at the intersection of this two and Bruce.
So when's NDOT gonna change their detour signs?
It's not NDOT,
I just couldn't believe they put that up.
all of the detour signs are wrong, right? Pretty much. And that's been pointed out for 2 weeks, and I think today they finally have the right plan in place, and tomorrow the sign should be changed. If not. So, for example, we have signs coming in from the south side of town, there's signs that says State Road 15 detour, and I know if you peel off the thing that's below, it's gonna have a right-hand arrow right on the Bloomingdale, which takes them right into the construction zone.
Well, there's one in front of my daughter's house that says detour State Road 15 and it's like this and I'm going, well, you go that way to 15 anyway.
Yeah, so these are signs that might work for next year. They'll work for this project. Our street department will have a supply of garbage bags and we will cover those signs up on Monday if they're on. I already told
Sounds good.
PR that we just.
Yeah, and
At night.
and some
Yeah.
of those signs are permanent. I mean, they would literally put them on poles into the ground. It's not
Well, that's-
temporary-ish.
Hold I'm not gonna pull out their signs.
Well, no.
So we'll be ready. Hopefully everything gets changed tomorrow. Or on Saturday. Everything changed.
Sunday.
Okay, I think that is all.
Okay, all right. Thank you, Mike. Anybody have any questions for Mike?
Is that it?
Do we know anything about the project over the bridge? Closing the bridge at all? Is that about?
It's a month. Last night, yeah, it's a month, it's 2 months overdue from done, I think. Pretty dark, you're right.
Yeah.
The last I heard, they were not going to have to close the bridge, but. They ran into, obviously, it run into some complications.
Because they got a major steel plate right before the bridge right now. That's why I was curious what that's leading to.
The last 2 times I talked to him, they said about 2 weeks will be done. That was 4 weeks ago.
Thank you,
So,
thank you, county, right?
Yeah.
That's NIPSCO.
Oh, that's NIPSCO project?
NIPSCO.
Relocating gas. They'll be relocating a gas line on Main Street at some point. Winter, yes, before we start the end. Just, it'll be a long year, man.
Yeah. Okay,
Oh, I see it.
all right. Kathy, what do you have for us tonight?
I have before you ordinance number 10-3-2022-23. This is the 2025 proposed budget that we have previously reviewed. It has been published and tonight I am looking for a motion to adopt so that we can send it to the state for approval.
Okay.
The total budget for 2025 is $8,780,741.
I make a motion, we approve the budget on second reading and adoption for $8,780,741 for the 2025 budget.
I'll
Okay,
second the motion.
motion by Kathy, second by Doug.
Jill just mentioned we need a public hearing.
Oh, okay.
We had a public hearing.
We had it on the
For the
first reading.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had a public hearing at the
First
last
reading.
meeting.
Yes,
Right.
that was noted.
Okay.
It was, public hearing was held, and by statute.
Oh, we
10
did
days.
because I had to stand at the podium.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So I'm sorry, Kathy, you motioned, what was Doug's second?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Motion by Kathy, second by Doug, so no need for public hearing
No
then.
need.
Okay.
That obligation is satisfied.
Okay, great, thank you. Any further discussion? Okay, if not, we'll take a vote. Doug Smith,
Yes.
Kathy Burke,
Yes.
Greg Dolsky,
Yes.
and Jeff Beach is yes. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Okay. Anything else, Kathy?
Yes, I'm
Okay.
gonna pass this. I need you to specifically sign and mark whether you, yay.
Yay or nay?
Yay
Okay,
or nay?
And then, yes, that's all that I have.
okay, thank you.
You have to get a resolution. I don't. Alex, I have no visuals for you, but it's just that. it's a pretty simple thing. I'm sure you can explain it thoroughly.
I certainly, yeah,
When it comes to turn.
yeah, that's right, I do. Jump at the bit.
Okay. So Alex, you're up.
Council, we have for this evening, what has been titled, resolution number 10-3 2024
9.
9. Which is a resolution of the town council of the town of Bristol, Indiana, approving and amending their declaratory resolution of the Bristol Redevelopment Commission and order of the Elkhart County Plan Commission. So if the council will recall, this pertains to the South State Road 15 EDA, and expanding the territory there too. There's a statutory procedure that must be followed that starts with the RDC adopting a declaratory resolution that's then forwarded to the Elkhart County Plan Commission for determination that it complies with the Elkhart County Plan. That is then sent to the town council to recognize both the declaratory resolution of the RDC and receiving the Plan Commission's approved order. And then from there, this will get passed back down to the RDC for a public hearing at its October 17th hearing for a confirmatory adoption of a confirmatory resolution to expand the South State Road 15 EDA. The resolution itself is well, there's a lot to it, but that is it. In substance, again, this is something that the RDC has looked at, has adopted, that the Plan Commission gave its stamp of approval. So before you today is simply approving in all respects the amended declaratory resolution, the plan supplement, and the Plan Commission order. The recommendation is that the council adopt the resolution.
Okay,
This is Caddy's property, that's where it's.
on the south side.
So you've seen this language at the RDP, and you'll see it again next month, and it'll be on the screen.
Okay,
And maybe just be clear, the 17th is when the RDC.
17th. Right, yes.
for a motion to adopt resolution 10-3 2024-9.
Make the motion.
Okay, motion by Greg,
I'll second.
second by Doug, for discussion. No further discussion, take a vote. Doug Smith,
Yes.
Kathy Burke,
Yes.
Greg DeHolsky,
Yes.
and Jeff Beach is yes. Motion carries.
Thank you, council. That's all I have for you this evening.
Okay. Anybody have any questions for Alex? Okay, if not, nothing under new business. Next item on the agenda is privilege of the floor, otherwise known as public comment. So is there anybody in the room that would like to make public comment this evening? If so, please step up to the microphone.
I'm if I didn't have something to say.
Of course, Maxine.
No, I just have a question. Yeah, Maxine Foster, 105 County Road 104. Now I'm just kind of curious as to the progress down here at the corner where the house is burned, what the long-term plan is, the outcome of that property. It seems like it's kind of at a standstill right now, and I'm just kind of wondering what was.
No, that's good question. So your timing is actually really good. Jill's in the process right now. We are going to be sending out a postcard.
Should have been in the mailboxes.
I thought we were gonna put it in this. That's why I didn't see it.
Yeah, it's
It
No,
was supposed to.
it's separate. It was a postcard.
Okay. all right.
So we're sending out a postcard, Maxine, to all the residential addresses in town, asking residents what they would like to see there. So we're asking for recommendations on what you think that property could be used for. And we will take that into consideration. And then the goal would be to put out an RFP, a request for proposal, to the public. And it could be any number of businesses that want to respond. And they would send in their proposal on what they think would be good there. For example, maybe it's a restaurant, maybe it's a retail store, maybe it's,
Maybe it's just a green space,
maybe it's just a green space.
just
you know.
park, picnic tables, that type of thing.
It seems like there's a huge bank.
Oh, it is.
Yeah, it is.
Goes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That doesn't seem like a lot of ground that would be.
Not really parking area there.
Right, the
No.
parking plus, I mean, it doesn't seem like there's a lot of flat area to build much on. I was wondering what was gonna happen.
yeah,
We want you guys to tell us.
Okay.
yeah, give us recommendations on what. I know I can, Maxine, I know I can, thank you. Okay,
We've got 11 responses.
okay,
We have postcard hasn't even arrived yet.
Well,
okay.
are there suggestions on the postcard such as, retail, green space, whatever? Just a question.
If no, what else would you recommend?
Restaurant, it says?
Restaurant, yes or no? If
Oh,
no,
that's not
what
very
else would you
fair.
recommend?
That's not very fair. That you're promoting restaurants.
Good,
Well,
Yeah.
we need to.
you need to
There
promote.
are
Never
other
mind.
suggestions.
We have enough. cards.
Okay,
Some of which, well.
I agree. I agree 100%. We have more than enough.
Yeah. Okay, so that's what we're doing, Maxine. Absolutely. Hi, Lester.
Lester Auto, 18686 County Road 23. This question is basically for Mike. Since he's personal buddies with Belmont Business, now that they have purchased the property across from my house, can they clean it up? I mean, it's been like a month and a half since people have lived there. Grass is growing, it's getting weedy. Where the farm equipment had been stored is really unsightly. And it is hurting my property values.
I can ask, that's still in the county. But I'll ask. Yeah.
Well, but Belmont's not in the county, is it?
No,
But they own the property and
no, we'll ask.
okay,
Are you still feeling vibrations at your place?
yes,
Really?
slightly. Not like they had been.
I know they made some changes at operations. They thought they had solved that issue.
I'm not going to get an attorney and sue them. It's not that bad. But if I start seeing more cracks in my walls, yeah, I will.
Okay.
But I'm still getting vibration.
Okay, anybody else? Okay, if not, we'll move on to the next item, which is town council discussion items. We'll start with Doug. Anything tonight?
Nothing tonight.
Kathy?
No.
Greg? Okay, and I have nothing.
Ooh, I like the word cancel.
Next meeting, October work session, October 15th work session.
I have nothing for that meeting unless you would like, we'll just cancel. Call the whole thing off.
Sounds
Yeah,
good to me.
that's fine for now.
There's no.
If something comes up, we can
Always had.
always notice it.
That way we don't have to pay Alex for that meeting.
So he's gonna be having a baby
I
anyways.
just say, you did 16, so.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah. I just have to.
Okay, is it boy or girl?
Boy.
Name?
You get Lewis.
Ooh, I like that.
One day.
That's gonna be George.
And he lobbied for it.
Bet he did. Bet he did.
George Lewis. That's a good name.
Then October 17th RDC meeting and council meeting. Anything else?
So no work session on the 15th.
Meeting, is it gonna be 6:45? We're doing 7.
It's already been published at 7. So do that at 7. It should be a quick meeting. It's just approving what it's just.
Yeah.
Well, that'd be a public hearing.
Okay, I make a motion, we adjourn.
Motion by Kathy to adjourn. Second by Greg. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, everybody.
So why aren't you home with your wife?
She has the same questions.
You're due any day now. She could be having that baby as you're sitting here.
I, believe you me, I've